Hello everyone and welcome to Live at 12:45. I'm Kristen Bomas and we continue this month talking to other women, and today I'm joined by Melissa.
Hi.
I thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And we're also joined with Mulan, but she's not going to get interviewed today, just saying. So we're talking to women this month about their lives and what they do for their health and to stay healthy. So Melissa, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do to stay healthy and to keep a good, healthy lifestyle.
Sure. So I am a runner, as you know, and that's my main method of staying in shape and staying healthy and feeling good and feeling alive. For me, it's definitely something that I get the after effects from. Mm-hmm. So I don't necessarily wake up in the morning and think to myself, I have to run today, but I know that the effects after are beneficial, both mentally and physically. So it's sort of a habit that I've gotten into I've been running many years, but only recently have really understood the mental and emotional benefits of running as well, and how it just makes me feel better, and the day is better after that. Everything's clear, it gets that adrenaline out. And you have that runner's high after, which is a lot of people know about, and it's nice. So as a result, I make sure it's in my schedule every day. I complement that with eating healthy, primarily because I don't want to break down. I'm currently training for a marathon. I just ran a marathon, and it's a lot of stress and time and pounding on the body, and I really have switched my mentality of looking at my food as more the gasoline to make my car move, and making sure that I'm getting enough of the protein, the calcium, all these specific vitamins that I take to ensure that I have the energy and I don't break down and I don't get stress fractures and all that good stuff. So
wonderful.
It's a process.
It is a process, and you can hear what she's saying, that in the running, she's actually opening up the emotional, the intellectual, and the physical health in her own body. Mm-hmm. And she's also saying that it brings its own type of stress. So we know that a couple of those stressors, or you have to put it on your calendar. So sometimes for some people that becomes, oh gosh, I've got to get this done. But what Melissa is telling you is she's moved to a place of more of an awareness of the running and an embrace of all of the yummies that you feel afterwards, which really takes the impact of the stress away from the body and from the emotions at that time. Can I have a glass of water, Jared? I'm about ready to have a coffee.
I think there's one right behind you.
Thank you.
And it's taken time to get to that point for myself. I've been running since high school, and it was always, running. I did it for competitive reasons. I liked competing. I liked winning. So it was very stressful. So I saw there was a long time frame that I saw running and racing as a stress, and loved the after. But the before, it was rough. Especially emotionally, mentally. I mean, in high school, I was an emotional wreck sometimes before races, just because of that stress you'd put on yourself. So I took some time away from it, and then jumped back into it a number of years ago, and have really consciously made an active effort to keep running as a positive stress on my life. And yeah, there's always stresses when you have to commit to something and you have to wake up in the morning, at 6 a.m. to run because it's too hot later on, and would I rather stay in bed? Yes, but those stresses are minor compared to the after effect that you get from it.
Right. And so we also know from a health perspective that running and any exercise whatsoever releases the free radicals into our body. And so those are the food for irregular cell growth. And irregular cell growth, as we all know, leads to cancer. So what we put into our body, as Melissa has said on a couple occasions, what we put into our body is critical to the reparation and the health stance of our body. So you heard her say she's taking a regimen of healthy foods and vitamins to maintain her health. So let me ask you, where have you learned what needs to be taken and how you're going to balance all of this exercise and physical wear and tear, because it is running, 26 miles. How many?
Yeah, 26
miles. 26.2 miles is a lot on a human body. We're not panthers, although we'd like to believe we are. And so, where do you learn all of this? Where do you gain all this information? Do you work with someone? Do you read? What do you do?
Yeah, so my gathering of information has been a long time. So I've been an athlete, I've coached, I've worked with other coaches and nutritionists and strength trainers and chiropractors and everyone in that sort of fitness, health, and wellness world. So a lot of my knowledge has come from that, and I ask a lot of questions. So for my running schedule, I have a coach, so she tells me what to do for running. If I have a question about a physical ailment, or I'm feeling weak on my runs because I don't have enough energy, or I need more, I need more carbs during my run or the night before, whatever there is. I ask her questions. I ask other respected athletes and coaches in the field. So I gather a lot of my information from the people I've met throughout my own travels and asking them their perspective and their experience going through. I read a lot. I read a lot of books by other athletes and runners. I listen to podcasts, online news. I'm pretty much, I would say, a sponge when it comes to things that are working, things aren't. And in terms of vitamins, recommended vitamins, I've always been a vitamin taker for the longest time, so I'm sort of up on what to take with that, and just being aware and knowing and listening to trends and knowing what works for my body too.
Absolutely. And knowing our bodies is so critical. And as women, we tend to be more attuned to that because of the way we're raised, and culturally we're always taught to think about our bodies, and so we are a little bit more attuned. And we're also the more emotional of the two genders. We're the more emotional gender, so that means that we have to feel inside ourselves what we're feeling, right? So as we look at that, it's interesting because we're talking about the exercise and the health and how you've reached out and found that information. But we're also looking at our health this month, and we're looking in particular, it's Breast Health Cancer Awareness Month, and we're looking at what we're doing to keep ourselves in a state of health that's preventative to any sort of a irregular cell growth. So how much of your learning includes being healthy to prevent any chronic illnesses in the future? Do you think about that at your age, or do you not think about it,
I do. I think we all think of ourselves as, unbreakable, or,
what's the word? Yes.
Yeah, that you just, nothing can touch us when we're younger. And in my personal case, I had a wake-up call to that way before I ever should have. And that sort of makes my awareness of cancers and diseases very relevant in my life. Backstory, my mom had breast cancer. She was diagnosed in 2006 when she was 54 years old, and she passed away 2 years later at 56 in 2008. So I was 24 to 26, way younger than any child to deal with that. And along with my mom, her mom had pancreatic cancer, is still alive to this day, even though she had that. So it's been something that's that's been in my family and world, and you sort of just have to be aware of it, and make sure you're taking the right precautions and double checking and trying to learn, I think, from those before you. So you got to learn and not take anything for granted, and make sure, whether it's you checking and knowing how to check and not waiting on the yearly checkup, or whether it's taking vitamins and being aware for that way. I think we all need to take responsibility for our own health, and to learn all we can, and be aware of it, because I think a lot of people really get caught up in my doctor's appointment and testing and this or whatever it is, or I don't have to worry about that until I'm age 50, or for my mom it was she would read all the list of reasons that you're more apt to get breast cancer, and it was and the reasons that you're not likely. And she didn't fit into any of them, whether it was like breastfeeding your children or having your children before, age 30, or all these different things, or being overweight, like all these things that she thought, never smoking, never doing these different things, staying healthy. And sometimes that's not enough, because there's genetic factors, there's environmental factors. There's a million different things.
There absolutely are.
I think that each of us, you can't really, you got to love doctors and all, but they also have, thousands of patients or hundreds of patients. So you really need to take control of your own health and the direction and that whole process. Because it's too late after the fact to say like, well, my doctor didn't find it, or
right,
I was going to the best doctor in like the county and like he didn't find it or she didn't find it. Well, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day if you now have a stage 4 breast cancer.
Not at all.
And I think I remember one of my mom's her doctor saying something like, no woman in Palm Beach County should die of breast cancer now. We have so much. We
would think.
Yeah.
And yet it's on the rise.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, which is a shame and terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, I don't know the right answer to say, why it happens in some cases, or why some cancers are really aggressive.
Yes,
and you can get checked and they don't show up in XYZ if you have dense breasts or so there's a weird balance there, and you have to, and at the same time you can't go, none of us can consume ourselves with this obsession over it, because that's not healthy either.
No.
And I know, again, in my case, just a year after my mom passed away, I noticed something and I was concerned, and I panicked in a way and went in and they did biopsies and some checkups and surgeries, and everything came up fine. And then I was on the every 6 months, come in every 6 months for all these different tests and ultrasounds and and just making sure, because you want to find it before the age that they found it on your mom. So they love to do that. But, then it came to a point where it's like you're 27 years old and you're in the radiologist's office every 6 months. How long? I mean, so, and panicking about it. So there is
that's not right. Yeah.
So, and they actually said, you can't really live this way either.
Correct.
So there is a balance. Does that mean that I don't go to the doctor at all? No, it means that there's being aware and knowing your body.
Correct.
and being a ambassador for yourself, making sure
That's a great way to say
you're out there and getting tested and doing what you need to.
So, 2 more questions. One is, could you tell everybody why pink is important to you?
Oh,
you kind of just did. I just want to kind of talk about that.
Pink as in the color for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I'm fully aware of it now, and I was aware of it before my mom was ever diagnosed. We went to, the Susan G. Komen races, and my mom watched me race there. I see the month as promoting a wonderful cause and raising awareness, and it's an excuse for myself and my business. I do PR, which is, what do? You do cause marketing. So you use, excuses to get out there to bring attention to your cause, your business, yourself, whatever it is. So I get the month. I think it's a great opportunity to utilize something that's so out there in the media to draw attention and, more importantly, money to causes and to raise it. And if it's the local pizza place's opportunity to, dye their crust on their pizza pink because they're gonna, sell a little bit more pizza and get the promotion out of it and get some exposure, and then be able to give, and in exchange they have to give X dollars to some cause, as long as that cause is giving that money to research or awareness or a valid reason, I'm okay with it. I don't connect. It's not like I think of my mom more during October. I think of her, on Mother's Day, and I think of her on her birthday, and I think of her on the day that we lost her, and and I know my dad thinks of her on his wedding anniversary. So it's not like we connect her to this month.
Okay.
But I think it's, so yeah, your question of what does pink mean to me? When I see pink, I think of breast cancer awareness, and if it's a way to get, companies and people to donate a little bit more, if that's how they want to like pay for their advertising that month, to bring attention, to get awareness out, I'm okay with it.
Okay. And do you use thermography?
They have not used it on me. So the temperature, like testing where changes, they have not.
They will not.
They will not.
It's not used by Western medicine too often.
Is it because it's not FDA approved yet?
No, it's approved. Oh my God, it's been
Okay.
approved for over 30 years, but it is done by an independent person. So it's it's a camera that sits and takes the imaging, but it absolutely can detect any irregular cell growth. Yes, 2 to 5 years prior to the mammograms and prior to ultrasounds. And so the reason it's not promoted, we don't know, and we're not going to try to answer that here. But it is something, again, where we're not getting all of the information we need from the sources we're going to. And so there's a question, and I'm kind of putting that question to every woman as we go through, because it's the one thing I know is out there. And there are many things out there that we could go through. But if I can keep it consistent this month, I'm hoping that everybody will start to think, what are we doing to really learn the outcome? As you just heard Melissa say, there is a tremendous amount of money. Over $6 billion a year is raised for breast cancer research alone. $6 billion per year. And do you as a woman have an answer to what that research is giving us? Do we as women understand all of our efforts, and is it taking us to a place where we see the trends going towards the healing, the cure, the preventive, the vaccine of breast cancer? Where are we in asking those questions? Because as Melissa said so beautifully, it is our responsibility. We're out there doing the work to help earn the money. But are we asking for the bottom line of our efforts? If you owned a business and you worked every day, wouldn't you want to know the outcome? So today we've heard from Melissa and how all of this, Jared, can you read what Tina is asking so I can respond?
Most of which goes to the CEO and advertising.
There are a lot of people who do join Tina in her opinion of that. But more importantly, it's as women, one to one, what are we going to do to embrace one another and help one another become informed, help one another to look at the various options, to teach one another what's out there beyond what we're told by a particular individual? What are each of us as women doing to keep ourselves healthy?
Yeah, and I know that some people feel more comfortable donating to local. There's even the Sari Center up in West Palm Beach. It provides therapy to women complimentary that were just diagnosed, and that they call them, they're connected with the hospital, and they make sure. So there's also that local opportunity to give back. That's not the research side, obviously. That's
Correct.
more the emotional awareness. There's a whole other side of it. But I would assume that the research and the results that are coming out if we did searches on it of what's happening. I don't keep up on it as much as I
Nobody
probably
does,
should.
I don't think,
but,
right?
And when a lot of the advancements is in treatment. It's like not decreasing because one of the funny things, and I talked about this with another client of mine, a doctor, that they, a lot of the new advancements are causing the numbers of people with diagnoses of specific cancers to go up because because they're testing more people, so it's coming up. And what they really need to focus on now is the treatment of it. So a lot of that money then is going to advances in treatment and how, and whether it's okay, if you're at this stage, this is what's done, and if you're at this stage, this is what's done. And I think, even though the number of diagnoses of breast cancer and specifically are going up, and I don't have the research on this today either, but I would assume that the numbers of people with stage 1 or stage 2, or the different, whether you're HER2 positive or negative or whatever those different levels are those percentages of like survival rate, I would hope, is going up. I mean, I know of people recently that were diagnosed and they had their chemo and they had their radiation and they didn't need a mastectomy, so that was a positive. Right. Or these do, and it's the treatment of, because it's just finding, the goal is, I mean, if you as a doctor said to my mom, if you're a woman in Palm Beach County like diagnosed with breast cancer, I mean, you should not be dying from it. You should find out. It should be in, hopefully in stage 1 or stage 2, and you're just taking care of it, or before that, as you were saying, finding it out, the thermal energy of it, and finding out 5 years in advance, so knowing. Right. And that's, I mean, like the other side of it is the BRCA test that a lot of people take, which is your genetic DNA test, which can determine if you carry the BRCA gene. And I've had that done. I think a lot of women and men have gotten that done, especially if you have a history of breast cancer. I think it's also pancreatic cancer. There's a few others in your family, and then that's smart, because then, I mean, there's a couple of years ago, remember, the celebrities were all getting mastectomies, and
I mean,
that's a whole other side of it.
You can turn that. You can turn that gene around, right? It's not carved in stone. So you don't hesitate to find out if you have the gene.
Oh, yeah,
because then you can do what you need to do to prevent any cancerous growth, and keep that in mind. Everything out there is for you as a woman to know that there are resources for you to prevent any sort of late stage diagnosis. If we use it, it'll work with us. And so I'd like all of you to take the time this week to research options, research thermography, research the numbers, research preventatives, research some of the local research that is being done, because there are some pretty amazing things that have been done locally out of Cleveland Clinic and right around here. So definitely open up your eyes and do what you need to do. And I want to thank you so much, Melissa, for joining me. I really do. Melissa is the owner of Blue Ivy Public Relations Company. It's Blue Ivy Communications is the formal name. And they do all public relations, and I could not recommend her more. She is an absolutely amazing woman with whom to work, and her whole team is excellent. So if you have any interest in PR, please think of Blue Ivy Communications, because they do a lot of great PR. And I want you to remember that I'm here every Monday and Thursday for live at 12:45. Our Monday guest, I haven't got a confirmation on, but next Thursday we'll be hearing from Bill Longstreth, who is a licensed chiropractor and also a naturopath, who talks a lot about the nutritional aspects, as well as some of the research that is going on with breast cancer. So he's going to give us a little bit more of an overview of the research as he knows it. So I thank you for joining me on Monday as well as Thursday. And please remember to join us on YouTube, where we have all kinds of little Christianisms and a podcast. And please feel free to subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us today. Stay healthy and aware. Thank you.
Thanks.